So the next, I went to see him the next day, and he says, "Oh, that's it, I'm not being in this band anymore." So he says, funnily enough, there's another guy that's just got busted up in Carlisle that's come back to Birmingham because he can't stay in Carlisle. 'Cause if he stays in Carlisle, he'll have to go to prison. And I said, "What's his name?" He said, "Tony Ironman." He says, and he knows a drummer called Bill Ward, who's really good. So he said, "Let's go round to his house and see if he's interested in getting a band together." And we were looking for a drummer at the time because we still had this other rhythm guitarist. And we went round to Tony's house, and he says, "We're looking for Bill Ward." And Tony went, "Well, he's here at the moment, so I can speak to him." So Bill comes out. Me and Ozzy said, "We're getting a band together. You interested?"
Had you switched to bass by that point?
No. I said, "We're getting a band together. Will you be interested in joining?" And he went, "Oh, I don't know." And I got a big lump of hash in my pocket, and went, "What about you coming for this?" "Yeah, I'll do it." And she says, "But don't tell Tony, because we've just been busted for drugs." So I said, "Okay." And he says, "Oh, and by the way, I can't join the band unless Tony comes with me." So we said, "Yeah, okay." And I says, "Well, talk to Tony." He says, "I don't play with the other guitarists." I says, "Well, I'll switch to bass." So that's the way we formed.
Amazing.
But I didn't have a bass. I just had this Telecaster guitar. With rehearsals, I tuned down the Telecaster guitar so that it sounded remotely like a bass, which God knows what it sounded like. And we did, I think we learned 18 blues numbers. I got American blues stuff. And I says, on the way to our first, we tried to get a gig, and nobody never heard of us. So Tony says, "Well, let's try the agents up in Carlisle that we've been busted in." And so he called her, and she says, "Yeah, I'll give you a go." So, and I says, "Well, on the way up to Carlisle, I know we'll be passing our old bass player's house, so I'll go and borrow his bass." So we stopped it there on the way. Borrowed his bass, which only had 3 strings, of course, but I could only play 2. And we were going, "Oh, I just thought we haven't got a name for the band." So we were passing this Indian sari shop, sold Indian women's saris.
Right.
And it was called Polka Talk. So I was going, "Let's call ourselves Polka Talk Blues Band." And I said, "Yeah, okay."
Imagine if that had stuck, looking at the backside of t-shirts, picturing Polka Talk Blues Band t-shirts. And then how quickly did it change to Earth and then?
Well, we did the first gig, everybody said we were terrible. Because Tony and Bill had built up this big following, and everybody came to me and Ozzy at the end and said, "You know, Ozzy, you're absolutely crap." And he went, "Oh, thanks very much." And he said, "And Geezer, bloody hell, you can't even play a bass." So we thought that's going to be the end. But Tony and Bill said, "No, this is the band now. We're going to stay this way." So and that was. Then on the way back to Birmingham, Bill Ward came up with the name Earth.
And then you found out later there was another Earth, right?
Yes. We turned up at this place, I think it was somewhere in Derbyshire or something. And we looked at it doesn't look like a blues club. And so we started playing, doing all these people coming in with suits on, like long dresses and everything, all posh people. And we're playing all this blues stuff, and the guy goes, no, stop. I said, play your single. I mean, what single? We haven't done a single. Well, you know, the one that's in the charts now. We're talking about Earth. They were singing it, and it was a completely different Earth. They were like a wedding kind of a band.
So when did you guys start experimenting with your sound? And like,
Well, I said, since we had to play, we'd just written the song Black Sabbath, and I said, we didn't know what to call it, and I said, let's call it Black Sabbath, the first song. And when we had to change the name to Earth, I said, well, just name it after the first song that we've written, Black Sabbath. So that name stuck.
So perfect. So I'm a little younger. I got into you guys when I was pretty young, but when I listened to the first record, when I listened to Black Sabbath, the first record, and specifically the song, I always imagined like old men, you know, people that found that. Like I can't even like getting your head around, because when you try to think of what was out there at the time, and you guys basically created this whole new thing. And I know you guys you weren't like, hey, let's start heavy metal. But was it just, were you trying to be different from what you heard on the radio? Were you trying to?
No, it's just an extension of all the bands. We loved Hendrix, we loved the Cream.
So you wanted to go heavier than those bands?
Yeah. Zeppelin had just come out. Robert Plant and Bonham were like local musicians to us. And we loved the first Zeppelin album.
Right.
And so we thought, it's like that's the kind of stuff we want to do. And just turned out that ours was heavier. And the we didn't like,
and thematically too, like the themes that you guys.
We didn't want to do love songs.
Right.
We just said everybody else had done love songs and everything.
But is there something to this story that you guys wanted it to sound like a Hammer film, like a Hammer's British horror, like?
Yeah, we were into like, especially me and Tony. I was like really into black magic at the time. And I thought crosses upside down and all that kind of stuff.
Where did that come from?
Just being a stupid teenager. I think it was a total rebellion against my mum and dad, because they were like ultra Catholic.
Right.
And ever since the nun had like taken the piss out of me in the church,
You were like,
I wanted to go exactly the opposite way.